In the last lesson, we learned how to multiply and divide rational expressions. In the upcoming lesson, we are going to learn how to add and subtract fractions, which means that we need to remember some of those basic rules from middle school about adding and subtracting fractions. So recall that adding and subtracting fractions requires a common denominator. That means that before you can add or subtract, the bottom of your fractions needs to be exactly the same. So if you take the one that we have here, 1/7 plus 2/7. Well, we already have a common denominator, so we're basically just going to add across the top. 1 plus 2 is 3, and that 7 stays the same. So 1/7 plus 2/7 equals 3/7. Now, it becomes a little bit more difficult if you don't have a common denominator to start with. Here we have 1/2 plus 5/8. So what we want to do is we want to think about these things and compare like apples to apples, so to speak. We're going to get that common denominator. Well, I know that the number 2, all I need to do is multiply by 4 to end up with a denominator of 8. So that's exactly what I'm going to do over here. Just remember that whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So I'm going to come over to this first fraction, and I'm going to multiply by 4 over 4. So what's going to happen is on the top, 4 times 1 is 4, and on the bottom, 4 times 2 is 8. Now we can add these fractions together. 4/8 plus 5/8 equals 9/8. I'm not worried about improper fractions. In fact, that's exactly how I want to leave my final answer. All right, one more example to review. So remember again that if we're going to add or subtract, we have to have a common denominator. So here we got 2/3 plus 1/5. Neither of our denominators are the same, and there's not actually something that I could multiply one fraction by. I'm going to end up having to multiply both fractions. So over here on the left, I'm going to multiply by 5 over 5. And over here on the right, I'm going to multiply by 3 over 3. That way, both of my denominators have a factor of 5 and 3. Now, what this is going to turn into, the first fraction would turn into 10 over 15, and the second fraction would turn into 3 over 15. Now, this is something we can add together. 10 over 15 plus 3 over 15 is 13 over 15. And that is my final answer.